Good morning, Midland, Texas. Buddy Webb here. Got a short video that I think you're going to find real interesting. It may answer some questions about the many crimes, the unprecedented lawlessness that's been going on that we've all seen, the obstruction of justice and the proven premeditated capital attempted murder of my life, the suspected multiple other murders, the murder of the last homeowner, the suspected murder, there's a little girl at the old show party, and the multiple people saying there's tunnels, underground facilities here, documented. Looks like Google Maps is showing one in my backyard. We got multiple people over Midland, Odessa, Texas, and other states reporting people in the attic. I reported somebody in my attic a year before my phone lines were cut and I was shot, by somebody under my home. And even more than that, I had reported a suspected tunnel going from my home to a secluded truck unloading lane. I believe human trafficking and or drug trafficking was going on at a nearby trucking lane. And the DA didn't look, and 2 weeks later I'm ambushed and shot. And so, a lot of people are wondering if, people at the DEA are not setting up citizens who report crime to be murdered. I mean, that's what it looks like. And nobody will investigate it. The press is involved, obviously. And, and it's even been questioned, the same thing that happened to Epstein, where they had information, that's real famous in the news, right? Where the reporter was complaining because she had the story, she had the Clinton, she had Epstein 5 years ago, and the press wouldn't report it, and that's kind of what's going on here. I mean, underground facility, suspected. I was told on a recorded phone call they're having pedophile parties down there, $1 million underground facility. Old show parties would be billion dollar companies, and so very possible, there's the connection where bribes are being paid to law enforcement and to judges and district attorneys, all of it, to cover up the multiple murders that are going on here in the face of just incredible evidence. This story here today, and actually I posted a Facebook post yesterday called "Large Group of Swingers in Midland," and I shared a news story that I went and found I was familiar with that happened, I think, in 2004, 2005, and it was about a swingers group in up by Dallas at this little town of 5,000 people, Mineola or something like that. And they were drugging these kindergarten-aged children and having them dance and having sex with them. And this was people in a swingers party. Okay, well, there was a connection here. I've suspected that possibly swingers in Midland, Odessa, West Texas were using the underground facility here. That would explain the pedophile parties that I was told about. And so I'm going to tell you a few stories about that. I'm going to read what I wrote, but I know before I even moved from Hobbs, and I believe that I transferred here from Hobbs, New Mexico in 2008, my hometown, and I took a transfer with my company as a 25-year company man at the time. But before I transferred, had my home up for sale. A woman comes by there in my house to just look at my house, not to buy it, to look at it, and told me that. Now, we're just looking at houses that are for sale or whatever. But I had known through the rumor mill that this was a person that was head of the swingers club over there in Hobbs, New Mexico. Okay, that was before I come here. And then I know another friend of mine one time, and this was also before I moved here. And we were coming over from Lubbock back to Hobbs, and she went way out of her way over by Denver City out there in the country. It's another little town over there, and to show me this bar where they had swinger parties. For whatever reason, I have no idea, but I got a feeling it was connected to the crime ring. I mean, we went way out of our way to go over there to see this little bar. Of course, it was closed or whatever. We didn't go in it, but we drove by it, and she pointed out this little bar over by Denver City and told me that's where the swingers meet or whatever. Okay, and I'm sure there's probably people that know this. They're from that area. Have heard these stories. And so then even here, and I'm shot and I'm told all this, and I know recently I was rudely told to shut up, don't tell my story by this woman, okay, and that's in the antique business here. I won't name her, but I mean very rude. Obviously she was desperate to stop me from trying to see justice get served, solve these multiple murders, etc. And I remember that she had told me that she used to be a teacher, and she had a student that lived in the tunnels by my house. Okay, and I questioned her on that. I said, "Didn't you tell me that? Didn't you tell me?" She's telling me to shut up, right? And I'm like, "Didn't you tell me that you had a student that lived in the tunnels by my house?" Well, yeah. I said, well, then that makes you a witness. I might subpoena you. And because now you're a witness to the premeditated capital murder attempt of my life, tens of thousands of burglaries, and all these other crimes I described, not to mention these other suspected murders. And so but then later, just a couple of weeks later, somebody that knew her was telling me that she was a swinger. I'm going, maybe that's why she didn't want me to tell my story. And so there was another one. And so in 2010, and you can Google this, here in Midland, there was going to be a swingers convention. It was in the news. I found the news story. I posted it here. I'm going to show you that here in a minute. The Midland Reporter Telegram posted that in 2010 that this swinger group had rented the Marriott hotel for $50,000, whatever, and they were going to do a hotel takeover. They were going to have seminars and even wrote in the news article, for all ages, lifestyle for all ages. Okay, I mean, let that sink in. Okay, all ages, as in kindergarten kids. Okay, and that's how I read it. But anyway, there was because it hit the press and everything. Then the motel canceled. It didn't happen. But what it showed, and it says in the article, there's a large group of swingers in this area. Okay, and so I'm just asking, was this large group of swingers having underground parties, and was this connected to the capital murder attempt of my life, and or the murder of the guy that lived there before me, and the little girl at the oil show party who was murdered because she refused to prostitute? And you can see how that connection would work there. And so, anyways, the Facebook post that had 200 some odd shares, 225 shares this morning, still going, and it says, large group of swingers in Midland in the windowless front rooms of a former daycare center in a tiny Texas community. Children as young as 5 were fed powerful painkillers they knew as silly pills and forced to perform sex shows for a group of adults. 2 people have already been convicted in the case. Now a third person with ties to the club, previously known in town only as a swingers group, is set on trial Monday, not far from Mineola, population 5,100. So by Dallas, I just read that. That's a CBS news story, I think. And then I went on. I said, I secretly recorded a woman on the phone telling me she was told about pizza or pedophile parties going on in the 4 3-bedroom, $1 million underground homes here. And I wondered if this was connected with a large group of swingers in the area. And then, and then I put a link to that video. And that's so everybody could hear that. And now I might even play that here in a minute. It's well known that Midland has a large swingers group and is in contact with swingers across Texas. The Midland Reporter Telegram reported in 2010 that a swingers group originally had a contract renting the entire Courtyard Marriott and had paid a deposit of $50,000 or more. Midland County District Attorney Teresa Klingman, she was the district attorney when I was ambushed and shot, said, but the hotel canceled it after public found out. A Midland couple previously scheduled to conduct sexual seminars at the Midland Swingers event referred a reporter to group member George Long, who would only say he was in North Central Texas. This was all in the newspaper. I'm quoting the newspaper. Long said he was extremely disappointed at having it canceled, this swingers party. The reason we picked Midland is because there's a huge lifestyle community in West Texas. Long said he would not say how many people were expected at the convention. The same article, as I was saying a minute ago, goes on saying they were having seminars, lifestyle seminars for all ages. Okay, and you can read that in the Midland. And I'm going to put the links to these news stories at the bottom of this when I post this video. I was recently told about a woman in the antique business, and I just told you about that. And that I was told she was a swinger, and she was the one that was so rude and desperate to stop me from telling my story. She doesn't want these murders solved. She don't want the underground facilities exposed. It don't matter how much evidence there is. And then somebody else told me that she's a swinger, and that's where I wondered, I was told a lot of people were here when I shot. And actually, the ex-wife, after I shot, I got out of the hospital, comes by. She says, "You don't know how many lives you ruined with your idiocy." My idiocy? I'm home minding my own business, you know. I've been reporting crime to law enforcement, you know. I'm the good citizen risking my life trying to make Midland a safer place, right? You know, and here I'm home by myself. They come to my home with guns. These are cold-blooded killers. Pointed their gun at me when I wasn't looking, cut my phone line, pulled the trigger, you know. Listened to me scream for help, waiting for me to die, and she's saying I ruined lives. How could I ruin lives, you know? I'm home minding my own business, you know. They're the ones that came out of their way to kill me, you know, and I'm sure they killed the guy before me. But the other part of that, you don't know how many lives you ruined. Well, that's a lot of people. Where are these lot of people? They're in the underground facility in the backyard. That's where they were at, right? And what were they doing there that's going to ruin their lives if it's found out? Well, there we go. Now we're back into the pedophile parties, and is it connected to this large group of lifestyle swingers, you know, that have seminars for all ages? You know, I mean, I'm just asking questions here, right? But these seem to be pretty legitimate questions. Any swingers in the area want to speak up? You know, go ahead, speak up, you know. I mean, this is all public information, you know, that I'm quoting here. And we're trying to stop crimes, make Midland a safer place, okay? So anyways, and then I finished up, what do those people do in their business until they start involving children? What those people do in their private business, okay? And them swingers, they got the right to do whatever they want to do, you know, in their bedroom, whatever. But until they start involving children or breaking into private homes and killing people, okay? And then it's my business, it's your business, it's all of our businesses. Instead of that, and you know, as soon as they start giving little 5-year-olds silly pills in windowless rooms or underground facilities, then I care about it, and I think you care about it too. And so I'm going to flip this camera around and just show you real quick, and then end this video. This is the Facebook post that's got all the shares that was so popular from yesterday. I just read to you what I had written, and a lot of that was copy and paste from news articles. Large group of swingers in Midland. You know, that's not Buddy saying it. That's what I read. You know, kindergarten turned into house of horrors. Children as young as 5 fed painkillers, forced to perform sex shows, and so. You know, you can go look at that. My Facebook is under Buddy Wayne Webb. You can look that up in Midland. The URL is buddy.web.353. And then the second news article I posted long said lifestyle events attract people of all ages, okay? And that's in this article where Midland Swingers Convention gets canceled amid pressure. And I read to you just a part of that where they said that there was a large group of these swingers here in West Texas, you know, and where they had rented that motel for $50,000 and all that. And then I put a link to a video, and basically what this is a clip from the recorded phone call where the woman told me about and gave me information about the underground facilities, and said that there was 4 3-bedroom homes, 25 foot deep, each costing over $1 million a piece, okay? And she said they were having pizza or pedophile parties down there. And I've had multiple other people talk about these underground facilities. Rhonda Denman Rogers said underground facilities half block away. The first person said anything about underground facility was the ex-wife, and she sternly warned me, these people won't want to give it up, you know? And this is where I believe them, the famous and wild oil show parties were going on, and you know, where the prostitution, drugs, and all that was going on during the Permian Basin international oil shows. You know, it's a convention, brings in tens of thousands of people from all over the world in here because of the oil field, And of course, it's, prostitution and conventions isn't something new. Like, I've never heard of that happening before. That's the kind of how they act around here. Oh no, I can't even imagine we have a convention and had prostitution going on, organizing. It's well known. Look at the Super Bowl and even Vegas. And they have all the conventions up there, and that's what this oil show party is. But the question's where it's going on, and I was told about a young girl that was murdered at an oil show party in 2010 by my friend who was there, and because she refused to prostitute. Anyway, this is just a small clip of that phone call. I'll put that link to that whole video in the bottom there, and we'll even listen to a part of it here in a minute. This right here, and this was recently, a woman says, go to Google Maps and look up your address, and I'm here in Midland, Texas at 3802 Fair Circle, directly behind the Home Depot store. And so I did. And then, of course, I got the block map and the satellite map. And in the block map, what I'm seeing here is this large facility in my backyard, okay? But I flipped to the satellite map, it's not there. You don't see it from above ground. I can't tell you how many times I've heard noises on that side of my house, which is the east side of my house. And of course, I was shot on the other side, on the west side of my house, And then there's all the other stories there, where you could see what looks like big tunnels cut going from Home Depot towards my house. The woman at Home Depot told me one time, you ever see a lot of cars in the parking lot late at night, it's because we're stalking, And then, of course, the ex-wife had told me in so many words, a lot of people were here when I shot. And so I'm sitting there wondering, I wonder if that right there in my backyard is one of the 4 3-bedroom underground homes cost $1 million apiece, and where that little girl was murdered in 2010, And, but as I said earlier, it's just been outright lawlessness, And then I have a video to another. I'll put a link to this video. This one shows the proof. See, it's one thing for Buddy to say, oh, somebody under my home shot me, and burglar alarm's going to attic. It's a whole nother thing when I show you the hard evidence and absolute undeniable proof. I have triple proof showing I wasn't shot with my gun. If I ain't shot with my gun, I'm shot with another gun. That means somebody come to my home and shot me, right? And I remember recently telling an FBI duty agent that, and we were sitting there, and I said, can we agree that if I wasn't shot with my gun, I shot with another gun? And I started naming off the evidence. The size of pellets are 2.5 sizes different than what the lab report said was removed from my foot. The surgeon stated he removed a large amount of plastic from my foot. Wouldn't be found if I was shot with my gun. Lisa Rogers said I was shot with a .45 handgun. That fits the space requirements. Triple proof x-rays were faked, and on and on and on and on about the evidence here. This is a capital attempted murder is what this is, and that's what the lawlessness is talking about. And then here in 2013, the remains of a young girl, 14 to 21, were found outside of Midland. I'll put a link to that at the end of this video too. I'm suspecting this is the girl I was told about that was murdered at the 2010 oil show party. That was in late October, so this was about a year later. The remains of a young girl's found, And here's a video. I'll put a link on this one too. And this gives information that law enforcement could use to stop this crime ring, this human trafficking ring, and stop these oil show prostitution parties, solve multiple murders and everything right here. I've provided them names, evidence, everything. It's absolute lawlessness what's going on here in Midland, Texas. And so that's what I want to show you today. I'll tell you what, the most recent thing here going on Facebook, and you've probably seen this, is the 10-year challenge. And this is kind of interesting. I took this picture yesterday because in 2009 I took this picture, okay, and then yesterday I took this picture, and what I tried to do is do the same picture, and of course it's not related to the story, but the one thing here to reminisce, back in 2009, I hadn't reported my first burglary here at the house. I had literally moved for here with hope and excitement. I spent my life savings on the American dream, on my home, and it's been a nightmare that won't quit, And, my mom was still alive at that time. There's been thousands, tens of thousands of burglaries. Actually, I'm sure that the crimes were going on at that time. I just didn't know it, I hadn't figured it out, Not like they built that $1 million underground facility in the backyard, while I lived here. Actually, one woman told me she worked on the project and it was finished in 1987. And then, next door neighbor told me one time, last 4 people living in your house didn't live there long. That's so funny, ain't it? The last one's dead, and I crawled out on my hands and knees to save my life. But anyway, Midland, Texas.